Hello, my name is Lonijonli, and welcome to Hello Creators. I got the idea recently to create a podcast and feature some interesting creators. In our 11th episode, I wanted to feature an amazing actor, writer, and friend. Please welcome Levi Bradley to the show.
Hi, Lonnie. How you doing today?
Doing good, friend. How are you?
It's been a day, but it's good.
How long have you been an actor?
I've acted most of my life. I think the first one I was in was maybe 5 years old. Um, but I didn't start taking it seriously until around high school, which would have been 17 years old. It would have been about 17 was when I started taking it a little more seriously. There's a hilarious story of when I was a kid. I stole the baby Jesus from the manger during a church play, and then years later, my little niece does the same thing at the same age that I did it. So it's apparently a tradition. We steal Jesus.
I'll wait for Lily to do it too.
Of course, of course.
Could you tell us a little bit about your artistic journey?
Oh gosh. It's so weird. My dad swears that he doesn't know how we got it. My brother is a musician. He can play anything with a string. Give him 5 minutes. My sister is an incredibly talented singer, a great writer. She's written stories before. They're fantastic. And then there's me, who's into acting. Of course, I also sing as well. So arts have just always been a thing in our family, especially with my siblings.
What's your favorite part of being an actor?
Oh, being on stage. Being on stage, being able to be the character, give that sort of become someone else, so to speak.
Who do you think have been some of your biggest supporters of this endeavor?
My parents have always supported me in this. My wife is also a big supporter, although she's in it now. She, when we first got married, told me she would, quote, never be on stage with me. And she's been going on about 10 years now. So it didn't take long. It did not take long to convince her to get on stage. So there you go. And I didn't even have to do anything special. She just came, saw a show, and saw how much fun I was having and said, no, I want to do this.
You've
And
been a consistent couple in quite a few shows.
matter of fact, we did not actually become a couple until 3 years ago was the first time in 10 in at that point 8 years that we had been able to be a couple on stage legitimately, which kind of happened as a bit of a surprise because unfortunately the guy who was supposed to play the part of her husband got sick and couldn't make it. So they threw me in there, and that was so fun because people could finally see what our relationship was like.
Oh, the couple can finally play a couple. Oh,
Yes,
their acting is really good because they're a real couple.
yes,
Ah.
yes. No one was surprised when we said we were married.
Who have been some of your favorite characters to portray?
Gosh, I've played everyone from Jesus to Satan, and I say that with full honesty. Those two were fun for different reasons. Um, another one that I always found amusing to play was Mr. Tumnus when we did Chronicles of Narnia. He was a bit of a challenge for me because of the fact that he was the first time I had to be a timid character, not a comedic character or serious or evil. That was the first time I got to be someone timid. Um, Another one that I enjoyed playing was the Reverend Kirkpatrick in our showing of Race to Freedom because it was so easy to play that role because that's how I feel. We joke about the first year we did it, and I had to scream at everybody to stop fighting. Uh, they had to turn the microphone off because I was going to blow the speakers out in the room, which was a very big room. And people said, "How could you just get so angry?" I said, "Because that's how I feel." There, he wrote that speech, but that was me. That was just how I feel about the issue. So it was very easy to get into that character.
That was a very serious play too. It wasn't like one of the like fun shows. It was a very serious show.
I remember when because I was also the assistant director for that show, and I had to tell another character. Quick backstory for your listeners who haven't seen the show. It's a show about the Underground Railroad, slavery. I was an abolitionist preacher, and to not get too personal, I find racism to be the lowest form of intelligence. It insults me as a human, and it insults other people. So it was very easy for me to get angry when people were being racist. One one girl, and she was a great girl, she was having trouble kind of getting into the mindset. And basically, all I had to do to explain to her was just think about your friends in real life. How would you feel if someone said that about your friend? You would be angry. And that was all it took for her to get it.
Yeah.
So, again, it was very easy for me to get into that role. In fact, my best friend came to see the show, and he nearly, I could actually hear him chuckling a little bit in the crowd when he saw me get that upset.
He was like, I know you. That's you. That's
Yeah.
not the character.
Yeah, he said this is high school all over again.
How do you memorize scripts? Any tips or tricks?
This is where I'm going to sound elitist, and I don't want to sound elitist. I just do it. I really just do it. And I hate to say that, but I can't think of any way to tell people other than I just do. I somehow have the ability to read something twice and remember it. It's a blessing and a curse sometimes, because then I can't remember important things.
You're one of the fastest script learners I know, because like you've been thrown into roles the day of or the day before shows before, and then you come on stage and you might check the script backstage a couple of times, but you're on stage and you know the lines, and we're all like, what the heck?
Yes, I'm so confident on stage, then I get backstage, where is it? Where is it? Where is it?
But you do a good job, especially when you're thrown into those roles too. I mean, that takes a good actor. And on to writing. You write scripts for your church plays. Where do you get your inspiration?
So far I've only written one. And the inspiration came directly from my favorite Christmas carol, The Good King Wenceslas, which is a story about a king who sees a man gathering wood during a snowstorm while the king is enjoying Christmas dinner. And he tells his page, we need to go bring him food. He's poor and needs help. And basically, the story was a modern day retelling, but also with the slant of the page was not a Christian and he was doubtful. The king was. So through the king's, or well, in this case, the mayor's actions, the page wound up getting saved.
That's an interesting retelling, like a way to.
Mm-hmm. Like I said, it's a beautiful carol, and I love it. And when I was given the opportunity to write it, I thought that would be perfect. It's simple; it can be done very quickly, very easily. The day of, however, I unfortunately had to do a bit of recasting and do something I don't like doing, which is put myself in the show because I was the director. And so had to alter it just a little bit, but still managed to keep the story fresh, or keep it the way it was supposed to be, rather.
What has been your favorite script to write? Well, obviously that one.
Unless so far it's been that one. I mean, you could count the stuff I did for the live nativity at my church, but that was basically the only piece that I wrote that wasn't taken directly from Scripture was the innkeeper and Mary. And even then, I still heavily relied on Scripture for that as well. So, but they've all been fun. I've also done small skits for my church's Bible school and things of that nature. And those are always fun because then I get to be a little more jovial with it and just have a little fun. Of course, then I improv a good 50% of it as well. So there you go. It's a suggestion.
Could you share some about how you put a script together?
Well, it always starts with a germ of an idea, and that idea has to flourish in a way that makes sense. for instance, with Good King Wenceslas, I had to think, okay, I have this much of the song to start as a base, but obviously that song is maybe three verses, is like 2 verses long, and doesn't give a whole lot of backstory. You just know there's a king named Wenceslas and a page and a poor guy. You don't even know if they made it because the song doesn't tell you. So filling in the before and after was probably the biggest challenge. So I had to. When you write a script, you have to think, what's the message that I'm trying to get across? If you don't have the message, the rest of the thing falls apart. So get that first. Then you can build everything else around that. That's pretty much how I have to do it when I write it.
What's the best piece of advice you could give to somebody wanting to write?
Write something. I know that sounds odd, but write something. Write something, read it and reread it. See if you truly like it. And if you do it again. And then do it again. Writing is one of those things, whether it's writing a book, writing a story, writing fan fiction, writing a song, writing a play, anything, you have to do it before you realize you're A, good at it, B, like it. So in that instance, it's just something that, in my advice, just do it. Do it and throw it all on the page. Don't leave anything out, because what you leave out may make or break the story.
That's true. And sometimes it's just hard to even want to get started, or like, oh, what should I write? Just write.
Mm-hmm.
Just try something.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. That's probably the biggest thing. Of course, that also bleeds into when I have to write sermons or preach. That's also part of it. But then that's also a little bit different, because I don't want to say that my writing scripts isn't important, but this is dealing with more spirituality, and I have to get myself out of the way in order to be heard effectively. But it's still in the same principle. What is the core of my message? What is the core of my script? What is the core of my story? If I don't have that, then I'm just a Tower of Babel and white noise.
What do you like most about writing?
Oh goodness, I get to say everything that I can't say in more ways than one. That's kind of the beauty of writing. It's being able to immortalize things that you couldn't necessarily immortalize through spoken word. I always wish I had written down some of the stories that my grandfather told me. I remember a few of them, but I don't remember all of the granular details, which is where the humor in it lies. My greatest regret is that I never recorded him, because I was going to write down some of those stories and keep them in a folder. But yeah, it's a way to immortalize so many different things in a way that you just can't with spoken word.
He was the one that traveled to a lot of countries and preached, right? Is that correct? Or
No,
am I remembering it
no, my
correctly?
grandfather was not a preacher. My great grandfather was, and my dad was. My great grandfather was not. Now my grandfather did travel. Yeah, I know I've told you some of the misadventures he got into. But yeah, he did travel. In fact, when he died, in lieu of flowers, they made donations to his favorite foreign mission. He's a big reason why I'm a storyteller, because he could tell a story about a conversation he had with a tree, and it could be funny. He just was a natural at that. So in that regard, yes, he's a big muse for me, and I might be jumping ahead to one of your questions,
Oh,
but
no, that's good.
he was a big muse for me. In fact, and it kind of touched me a little bit when the day that he died. My dad told me, because unfortunately I didn't get to make it to his bedside before he passed, but my dad told me later. He said they were just sitting in the hospital, and my grandfather started laughing for no reason, just apropos of nothing, started laughing. And my dad said, "What are you laughing at?" and he was laughing at one of his favorite stories, which involved me being stung by a yellow jacket on the ankle. That man was evil. I sometimes wonder, why did I love him so much? No. I loved my grandfather. But it was touching that a man who had so many heartfelt stories, so many funny stories, so many sometimes tear-jerking stories, that I was his favorite one. That was his favorite story to tell. He would tell it every chance he got, sometimes to my chagrin. But so it's a big inspiration for someone when you know a great storyteller and a great person, and it's like, this is my go-to. This is the one I will tell every chance I get.
That's cool that you were able to get storytelling from your family, like that ability.
Oh Lord, we're awful. We can take an hour, or we can take 5 hours, talk about 60 minutes. I mean, it's just, which is probably why I'm am so enamored with acting. Tell you, have I ever told you how I got into acting? Have I ever told you that story? So, when I was in middle school, my middle school took us on a trip to New York City for a week. That was our spring break trip for the 8th graders. And one of the things we got to do, and my wife still despises my soul for this, was that we got to see Phantom of the Opera on Broadway. We sat in the balcony seats. And I remember watching that and going, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. Just the pageantry of the whole thing. Especially the scene I vividly remember the most is when the Phantom comes out in his Mask of the Red Death costume, which the Broadway version is just, it was a brilliant piece of work. So that was when I said, I need to figure out a way to make this a hobby, and just absolutely fell in love with it. And since then, I've been in musicals, I've been in comedies, I've been in tragedies, I've been in just about anything, and I don't regret a single bit of it. It's been so much fun.
How do you personally get through creative blocks?
I stopped doing it. I literally don't force it. Put it down unless you're on a deadline. And that's another thing. Never be on a deadline. If you have a block, get away. Because when you force it, it is bad. It never turns out well. So just go on. Go find something else to do. It'll come back to you eventually.
What is the best piece of advice that you've ever received?
The best piece of advice that I've ever received has been surround yourself with people who are better than you. Because when you surround yourself with people better than you, it makes you improve. The worst enemy of the artist is perfection. Because when you achieve perfection, you can't go anywhere else. So always try to surround yourself with people who are better than you, who will challenge you in a good way. If don't be competitive, but always try to surround yourself with people who are better than you, so you can learn from them and figure out how to improve your craft.
That's one thing with being in the arts is you can either get so creative that you get bored with it, or you just get bored. And so by keeping people around you that keep you motivated can be super helpful. Which
is something in everything that I've tried to do. I'm weird. I used to do dinner theater, and they wanted to pay me, and it felt weird being paid. I've never looked at this as anything that I want to be paid for. It's always been a hobby to me. I've never wanted to make it a career because I've always wanted to enjoy it. And I'm always afraid if I make this a career, then I'm eventually going to see it as an obligation, not as a joy. So in that regard, I always try my best to be like, how can I keep this fun for me? And if it's not fun, I walk away. I just don't do it anymore. So life's too short to life is too short, and there's too many things we have to do in it to waste our time doing things that we don't have to do. So there's my other piece of advice.
What's something you wish more people asked you about your artistic process?
Oh, goodness. That's a good question. I don't really know. Like I said, I've never really viewed this as anything other than something I love doing. So I suppose if you could ask me one question, it's how much I enjoy it. Because yes, it is an obligation, and yes, there are days that I go home saying that I just sleep in my house. I live at the theater. But I've always enjoyed it so much that it keeps me coming back. Because trust me, if I didn't enjoy it, I wouldn't do it. I like to be home. I like to kick my feet up and relax, especially after a hard day of work. But yeah, I guess the one question I wish was asked more was, well, how do you enjoy it so much? Why do you enjoy it so much? And it's more than just being able to be on stage. It's being able to be around people that I like and who I think like me. And then, of course, there's all of the great stories and memories and moments that I can walk away with it. I think back to a line I heard once where someone said, sure I gamble cards at the table, but money is just for keeping score. He said, my real goal is to hear the stories. He said, that way I win no matter how the cards fall. So I kind of try to apply that here. I don't come for the adulation. I don't come for the chance to be on stage. I come for the stories. That way, no matter what part I have, I always win.
That's a positive that's a positive outlook.
Mm-hmm. And if I need to blackmail any of you later. I'm joking.
You're like, I have a little black book.
Nothing that happens backstage will be used against you in a court of law.
What do you have coming up next? Any projects, shows, exhibitions in the works?
Oh dear. Well, I'm in this next show at For His Glory. So that's going to happen. As far as anything personal, I'm trying to write my own Easter Passion musical. And that's going about as well as you expect. That writer's block has hit me hard.
You've got about a year. So
I've got a whole Bible and I still can't figure out what to write. Oh my gosh. Getting ready to do another nativity this year. Going to involve another area church, as well as the first year we did the nativity, we had my local church and then another church in the area. This year I'm getting 2 local churches in the area, and hopefully this year we can expand a little bit more, use a few more set pieces. The script writing for that won't be too hard, because again, I just pull from the Bible. It's great when you're writing that, because you can literally just pull from the Bible, and there you go. And when you copy from one person, it's plagiarism. When you copy from multiple people, it's research. So, no, do not plagiarize. I am not advocating plagiarism. But those are probably my two biggest projects. I don't know if you could call being a worship leader at church an ongoing project, because that's just something that I do. So fun times lie ahead. I'm hoping I can get that Easter production written within the next few months. Can I plug a little bit of it? Is that all right?
Go for it.
I normally don't spoil. You're getting an exclusive here. But something that I noticed with different Easter productions is that no one really touches on what Satan was doing during the time of Jesus' life.
Mm.
And this terrified my mother when I told her. But this production is written from not a standpoint, but a dichotomy. It's the contrast between Jesus and Satan. And see, the thing is, I have the show in my head. See, this is how I work. The show is already written in my head. I just don't have it written. I know the cast. I know I'm involved. I know the people in Jesus' life that I'm involving. But basically, the premise of the story is that Satan he sees the birth of Jesus. He wonders, what's going on here? Why are you here? Because he would have known who Jesus was. It's, what are you doing here? What's going on? What am I not privy to? He figures it out. Oh, I can't let this happen. So he decides to sabotage as much as he possibly can. And so the big recurring theme is, and some of the characters involved are the rich young ruler, Legion, Mary Magdalene. You got to have her in the show. So many people who are given a clear choice to either follow Jesus or reject him. And the big recurring theme of the show is that you see Satan move around on stage, but no one on stage acknowledges his presence except Jesus. He is the hidden thing that no one sees. And give you an example, the rich young ruler. Jesus gives him the ultimate choice. You can follow me or you can cling to your riches. And Jesus will, stand there and offer his hand. And and in the picture I have, it's black stage, spotlight on just these three people. Time is almost frozen. And then you've got Satan just right behind him. He's not even looking at Satan, but Satan's right behind him. Oh, think about all that you have to give up. All that money, all that prestige, and you want to follow this guy? Come on. And it's the dichotomy of it. And every character is given this scenario. And in the end, they will either accept Jesus and Satan will, get mad and walk off in a huff. Or they'll reject him. They will leave. Everyone else will watch them leave. Mm-hmm. But Jesus will be looking at Satan, who will give a little bow or whatever he does, whatever I decide to make him do. And it just kind of follows that whole thing. Satan, I'm literally going to have a possession scene at one point where it will show Judas being like, Satan's, getting into his head.
Because in the Bible, it says once at the Last Supper, once Jesus says, go and do what you must do, it says the devil took over him, right? I do believe so.
Yes, it is somewhere in there that Satan started getting his hooks into Judas around that point. And then, of course, in the triumphant end, because another thing I never see is anyone showing Jesus getting the keys. So he's getting the keys. So yeah, that it's kind of just the study and contrast. And the ending of the show, one of the last scenes will be when Jesus takes the keys from Satan. Satan will tell him, "Fine, you've won, but I'm going to take every single soul that I can with me. I can't fight you, but I can fight your message, and I can fight every single person who follows you tooth and nail. Because I am the God of this world, and as long as there is a world, I will keep my claws in it." So I never see a show that does that.
Yeah.
And it was an interesting concept to me when I first started dreaming it up, because you can't tell me that the trials in the desert were the only time Satan ever bothered him. I'm sorry. You can't convince me otherwise. There had to be more. It just wasn't recorded, or the people recording it didn't realize that it was Satan doing it all along.
Yeah.
So that's probably my big one. I can't remember the title right now, so don't ask. But that's my next big work.
Well, we'll be looking forward to that. That seems like an interesting take on that story.
Yeah, I'm hoping to get it written before next year. I've already told Jonathan Ross, our director here, that once I get it written, he is free to have it. He'll have to direct it. I am not directing a show that big. I barely got through The Small Church, so
it's a lot of work.
But that'll be fun, and I can't wait to get that finished up.
Well, we'll be looking forward to being able to see that when it's finally into production.
I am looking forward to it. I'm really hoping that if nothing else, someone will be able to walk away from it thinking about their life and thinking about how many times have I had to make this choice? Because just in what little bit that I've written, I've had to reflect on myself, which is another great thing about writing, is that it makes you reflect on you as a person.
Because every single character, every single word is coming out of your head, whether you're getting inspiration for something else or not, but it's still coming out of your head.
Mm-hmm. That is true. That is true. So there's your dichotomy.
That sounds really cool. Thank you for being on the show and telling us about all your endeavors. And I appreciate you being on the show. Thank you.
Thank you, Lonnie.